Oh, never mind.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Ask.
I was just gonna say time zones are crazy. I did counseling, and I have to schedule in Eastern time with somebody who's in Central time, and I'm in Pacific time.
Yeah, it's crazy because you know why I shouldn't be. I should know this because I actually support a couple people on the West Coast. So I should know this like off the top of my head because I think what was it, Thursday? I didn't finish working until like 8 o'clock, which they were just it's like, oh, so we're just getting into the swing of things, and I'm like, no, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. But yeah, welcome to Earth 2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and timelines don't matter. It's your host Mo Crosby. I am back with what I will never understand because last week they switched the names, right? But then the switch positions, and we're back with James and Stephanie to discuss what are we discussing? Yeah, Star Trek Discovery season 3, episode 6. Scavengers.
Scavengers?
Yes, that's the title of the episode, I believe.
Or was that the Mando title?
No, that was Discovery, Scavengers. The Mando. Do we care about the Mando title? It's just cute baby Yoda and stuff that happens to connect us to the greatest Star Wars universe.
Your Mando saltiness for tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, let's save that.
Let's focus.
Great. What did you? Okay, this is a very interesting episode. I'll say to start because, man, the chat was hot on this one. There were a lot of reacts, good, okay, and just not great. I liked it. I enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed everything that happened in the episode. I have some beefs in the episode, but for the most part, I thought it was a really good episode, a really interesting episode. For certain characters, and then other characters, I was like, oh man, really, you did this? You acted this way? Disappointed in you. But you didn't tune in to listen to me. You're here to listen to James and Stephanie. No one really wants to hear what I have to say. So, Stephanie, just basic thoughts when the episode ended and credits were rolling. What did you think? No, it's not an episode for you.
No, I was dissatisfied and angry.
I don't understand where, but we'll get into that later. James?
I there are some things I didn't like on the scavenger side of things, but overall I thought the episode was good.
Oh, scavenger side of things. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I really liked the guy that just randomly showed up everywhere. He was probably my favorite part of the episode.
Yes, that was one of the more fun parts. And I do like how Discovery is starting to add levity or some sort of levity, because one of the biggest complaints was it took itself too serious. It's, because every other Trek has like either the one funny character in the midst of everything. I think for TOS, it could have been, unironically, Kirk. I don't think that's what they were going for, but what's his name? William Shatner is just ridiculous. Yeah. So I think for Enterprise, my favorite one, it was a security officer, I believe. Again, unironically, I don't think he was meant to be that, but he just ended up being funny to me because he just took himself way too seriously. There's always that one character that people, like, oh, this is the funny guy. And I think this season had been building him. I don't know if we ever caught his name, but I think they've been building him to be funny because he would have those moments with Philippa, and she'd be like, what are you looking at? And it's like, are you supposed to chuckle at that? Or are you supposed to like be scared for him because she could eat him? Or, it's she could eat him. I mean, they ate Kelpians. She ate Kelpians, and that was the one thing that she wouldn't let Saru live down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen. Okay. So now let's kind of dissect the episode a little bit. Stephanie, let's start You know what? I feel like, yeah, let's start with what you didn't like, because I feel like that is a lot. There's a lot of stuff you didn't like compared to what you did like about the episode. So let's start that way.
Okay. We opened the episode with removing all of the struggle of being 930 years old. All of their tech got upgraded, their ship got upgraded, they got all the new fancy toys. What are you raising your hand for?
Okay, great. I don't remember who said it, but someone either on this cast or in the chat had said, I would like to see Discovery upgraded. Could have been James.
It was me.
But someone did say something about that, and you have a problem with that?
I will agree it was too quick. Like, normally when you upgrade, it takes time. And there should have been, even in a futuristic world, months to upgrade their ship to that point. In a current world, it would take years to upgrade your ship that many,
that much
centuries worth of technology.
Right. You have to literally.
It's not the same ship, right? In order to actually bring Discovery into the current modern era, like I don't believe that the skeleton of that ship would have been sufficient. Just with how technology works, like the bare bones of Discovery would have been so obsolete that they essentially would have had to buy or rebuild the ship. But they just did
cut off. Yeah, they did. It wasn't the one thing that they separated something. I'm like, that. Okay, that didn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. Just so for easier maneuverability and get out of here.
Well, to be fair, like I don't appreciate it either, but I think it was a style choice. They're trying to cement that this is future Star Trek, and the nacelles on ships are iconic, right? Like they're on most war class ships. So they're I think they're trying to make a stylistic statement of like, we're in the future, we're so in the future that things don't look the way that you expect them to. And from a stylistic standpoint, I can respect that, but I don't appreciate that it just
happened.
I don't like it.
I do love their new badges, though. We'll say that.
I do have beef with that, though. If you're gonna upgrade the ship, why are they still wearing their old
uniforms?
Yeah, like
why are they not wearing current uniforms?
Yeah,
agreed.
Because if you're gonna do that, right? If you're gonna upgrade them, because what that really means is, I think you said it last week about how they had one mission and now they're like automatically part of Starfleet, right? Mm-hmm. So that means for us to retrofit your ships or upgrade your ships, you're automatically now 100% part of Starfleet. Why don't you go all the way and just become a part of Starfleet in the sense that not just it's one thing to change the ship. It's one thing to give them new badges, but the rest of okay, where just so I need new clothes. Like, where's my future clothes? Like, I feel like that is something that they should have just done, right? Or am I just nitpicking here?
No, I think it's inconsistent. I think it's a good point. We do get a sense that some time has passed in that opening montage, right? Like that they've been running missions for the New Federation and things are going well, and that is what led to the ship being upgraded. But I agree, it's weird to bring them into the fold of technology, but not induct them into the New Federation.
Yeah.
Agree. That's weird. I did not care. I know that they still have the human struggles of being 930 years in the future, right? Like they still are going to have to grapple with some trauma and some loneliness and adjusting. But I'm disappointed that in a post-apocalyptic space future where technology is seemingly sparse, like that they would instantly get that upgrade. I understand that some people want to see the new tech. What does it look like? That's a huge part of Star Trek. I can respect that. It's way too soon. Like technology is always the last thing you give up in negotiations because it's the most precious thing that you have. So it's just weird to me that they would immediately upgrade that. And I think it removes a lot of what this season could have been, which is how does cutting edge technology that's 930 years old survive when it's now obsolete, but yet somehow still cutting edge? Like I thought that could have been a really cool game to play of like, I can't withstand your weapons. I can't fire back the way that you can, but I can hop around and you can't catch me. Like that would have been cool. And I'm bummed that we're going to miss out on that.
Then again, it would have gotten old, to be honest, because it did happen in that one episode where they took one hit, and all the ship, the whole ship was ready to go. And it's
right,
like
but they
you
didn't show
hit.
Discovery adapting to that.
Or do you think we're not gonna get a lot of Discovery? Like when I say a lot of Discovery, a lot of the ship happening, it's gonna be more character interactions. Like, is that
Probably.
what you? So it's like, why even show a struggle of the ship if that's not the thing that's gonna happen? But that would be unfair for us because the title of the show is Discovery, and the aim of Star Trek is to see the ship go through things, and the people on the ship go through things. So it's weird. This season is weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I get the struggles of moving, this whole thing. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but I feel like you're bringing up like really, really amazing points that should be talked about in full. Because it's one thing to look at it in chat and try to respond to it, but like when you're actually sitting and talking to it, it's like, that makes sense. Yeah. Did I really like this episode, or am I partial to something and then it just made me gloss over the rest of the stuff? But go ahead. I won't cut you off again. I promise you.
Well, I do think that's an important distinction to make, right? Like, you can enjoy something and understand that it was not written well, right? Like, it can't be B-rated movies. Like, they're not good, but they're not supposed to be either. Right. So it's totally fine. Like, I don't want to yuck your yum. If you enjoyed the episode, that's fantastic. But objectively, there are some issues with it. So the other things that really bothered me were the slave planet. Like, obviously, evil people still exist in the future. Obviously, there's still going to be suffering and oppression in the future. I get that. Do we really need to see slave labor in the future in space? I don't think we do. It's super inefficient. It's super dumb. Like, it's so played out and it's so awful, and I'm tired of it. Like, I'm tired of space slavery.
Technology is so advanced at that point, because I think we're past the year where the Doctor from Voyager's global transmitter came from, right? So why don't they have holograms doing the slave labor?
Right. It doesn't make sense. And they even, like, in the episode, the green guy Hulk Jr. was like, let's get some drones watching these people. So, like, you have ample technology to oversee your slave operation. Why don't you have enough technology to just do the labor? Like, it's like they're going out of their way to be evil, and I don't know that we need to put display in Discovery.
It felt very like extra. It's like you had a drone follow Michael and Philippa the entire time, but it's like, oh, we want to show how big and bad we are, and we're gonna punish you. No, like, isn't it more efficient to just kill them and then just
why have resources?
Like, because you have to feed them, you have to give them water, you have to do all these other things. I get it, but if it's about the money, right, that they owe you, you can make more selling this stuff with having them have to, like, and I don't know. It set a cool, I'll say this, right, to that it had a cool, like, look, right, but it's not great in terms of like a story of again, this is Star Trek 1,000 years in the future. So that means every other Trek show has happened, and we've been through every other thing, and we're here now. So this should be obsolete. Like, it doesn't matter if the Federation exists or not. That should, like, in terms of just efficiency, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, they could be making a stylistic choice of cementing that. So, like, every single Star Trek show, to some extent, at some point, some more than others, address oppression, right? That is the goal of the Federation, is to relieve and eliminate oppression. So it could be said that they're making a stylistic choice to cement that the Federation failed, right? It collapsed. So the ideals of the Federation are not existing, and we need to demonstrate that the universe doesn't reflect what the Federation had been shooting for, which, again, like, there are other ways to make that, but I just felt like it was so unnecessary, in particular when the Bajoran was caught stealing and they made him run out, and, like, that scene was just so long of watching this Bajoran of color run from somebody in power getting shot at. Why is that necessary? Why do we need to see that? And why did the writers think that 2020 was the year to air that episode?
It's a cool Western tropey thing. It's but it's something that has happened in so many other mediums, right? It's like you have to punish the slave by like, looking big and bad and looking cool, shoot at his feet so he could run, and then he runs into this force field and loses his head. I felt that was a little much, but
especially because it was a Bajoran, right? Like the last time that we saw Bajorans, they were just regaining their freedom from the occupation, and they were just learning how to be a functional society again. And now the next time we see Bajorans, he's in a slave context again, being cruelly treated again, and being murdered uselessly again. Like that's so insensitive to the Bajoran race, and is just like solidifying that they are a weaker species, and like that they will never escape tyranny. And that's awful. I'm not here for it. Bajorans worked really hard for their freedom, and it was just washed away in one episode.
Okay. Anything else? Or
I want to add there's more. That force field thing, fence was just stupid. Like the fence is what's causing them to blow up. All right, teleport them out. Done. Like you brought a ship in here. Why do you need to walk them past the fence in order to get them out? You have a teleporter. You have the ability to make personal teleporters. You can get them out past a fence super easy.
But then we wouldn't have had the cool ship like break apart to come back together.
That, but they could have done a space battle instead, and then we still could have gotten that. Like it's uncreative for them to put a fence when there's teleporters.
Writers, step it up.
Nah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with a lot of things that you guys are saying, but like, that I don't know if that spaceship breaking apart to come back together would have looked as cool anywhere else.
Okay. Yes, but they could have created a better reason for it.
Right. No, but that was cool. Like I was like, wow, okay, well now we're in the future.
Sure.
We saw that in Voyager too, but this was more advanced than Voyager.
What?
There was a ship that the Doctor ended up getting on board in the Alpha Quadrant. Like he went across anyway, and it broke apart and had like 3 bits that all came together to make a super weapon.
Right, I remember that. So and then like overarching. The fact that Michael went on a rogue mission is infuriating to me. Like. I don't care that she's the edgy officer who's going to make her own decisions and not follow the chain of command. Like it's boring. It's so predictable. And like, as the moment that conversation started with Saru, I knew that she was going to go off on her own. Like, and that's lame. Like she's done it so many times.
That wasn't a surprise.
No, I don't like I want to see Michael grow as a character. I don't want to see her keep making the same mistakes for different reasons, or say the same choices but for different reasons. That's not interesting. That's not dynamic. I don't care. And I super don't care. I do not at all like what they're doing with Adira. She does not have her boyfriend's soul in her. The destruction of Trill like symbiont relationship is driving me up the wall, and the fact that while a touching moment came out of her relation or her conversation with Stamets, it's so weird to me that Stamets was like, "You're talking to yourself, but I don't think you're crazy." It's weird,
but because he wouldn't get it, I don't know. I didn't get that, to be honest. I honestly didn't get that. I was like, why would he say that? Why would he choose those words?
And I'm disappointed that they had Michael and Book kiss at the end. I'm disappointed.
I mean, they don't know they for 2-3 episodes, and
they like it. It's so the way that they're laying this out is so juvenile. Like the constant insistence from Georgiou that they're dating, and Michael's like, "No, we're not. I'm not in love. No, we're not." Like that's middle school. Like you're a grown woman who's had relationships before. Like get out of middle school. It's fine that you find him cute. Like, what is the issue? Don't. So it was unsatisfying, especially to have that comedic relief interruption from the teleporting alien, and then the like desperate cling to each other, even though there's no high stakes stuff going on right now. It was unsatisfying to me.
But I will say this though, I'm glad it happened then and not while they were dodging bullets.
Sure.
Listen, it's because we've seen it happen. Like shots are going around and everyone is like dying, and you're like, no, we'll stop.
This is not the time
to kiss right here, and then we can go back to shooting people. So I'm glad, whether we like it or not, I'm glad it didn't happen while they were dodging bullets. It's like,
I'm glad it didn't happen in the slave setting,
or even when they took the guy, when he put the guy in bed.
Oh, in sick
I'm glad it didn't happen in sick bay. I'm just glad it didn't happen around like chaos. Like, the comedic relief thing was kind of annoying at that moment. I thought it was cool everywhere else, but at that moment I was like,
The last thing that I'll say in the list of things that I didn't like is that Michael's whole reason for doing this mission was because one man's life was on the line, and she wanted that information.
She didn't care about the information, to be honest.
So many people died.
I don't know if anyone died.
No, how did they not? A spaceship was blown out of the sky and collapsed on the warehouse.
Many of the bad guys got vaporized.
People died.
Bad guys died.
Which is like, again, goes back to like the warehouse empty. You invited Georgiou on a mission with you. You know she doesn't care about the sanctity of life. So to argue that the reason you're going on this mission is to save a life, but the person you're going to bring with you is the person who doesn't care about saving lives, should have indicated to you that maybe people were going to die on your mission to save life.
Okay,
and you just admit that you don't care.
Maybe I didn't see it, so I'll ask you. I thought the warehouse was emptied.
I don't think so, because what is that? What is that species? The blue guys with the antenna? What are they called?
No. What's the blue guy?
Andorians.
Andorians.
Yeah, Andorian. Yeah.
So, he makes the book tells him to go off and start the revolution, and he's like, I talk to as many as I can, which is a clear implication that he couldn't talk to everyone
because they hate him,
right? And everyone hates him, so the reality that all of them are going to be on board and follow him also should, like, there should be people who are like, no, I don't trust you, you're a narc, or whatever, you're a pariah. That's the word that they used.
Okay, because narc.
But also slavers are bad. I'm not necessarily advocating we save their lives, but it's still a loss of life for people operating that compound to get blown out of the sky by them when they get on the ship finally.
Yeah, because a lot of times you don't necessarily. It's a job.
Yeah,
it's not the best job, but it's a job, and you're trying to feed your family. now, I
don't want to argue the morality. I don't want to argue the morality of killing slaveholders. That's not what I'm here to do. But it's a contradiction because her point, the whole point of the mission was to save life, and her mission resulted in many lives lost.
The whole point was to save a life. Let's just call it what it is. Just the one. She didn't care about. Listen, every life that she saved was just like, I guess I'm not. It's like, oh, okay, I saved your life, but I don't really care, to be honest. I really just wanted to save the one person who.
Right, and they also left all of those other slaves that joined the revolution behind, which they're going to be outnumbered, right? Like, they might have a temporary victory, but it's not going to be long before reinforcements come and they're all re-subjected to slavery. But
now they put on the other ship and the transport ship, and then they like jet off. I think they went on the train. So I think
they got on a transport ship.
Yeah,
they
got on a transport ship.
Warp drive.
Okay, I must have missed that in my anger about everything else.
Yeah, I think a lot of things were easy to miss, but because I thought the factory got emptied out, but then again, you did bring up the point where he's like, yeah, I told as many people as I could. So the Andorian has lost his antenna. What happens to him is a very interesting thing. Like, what's ever gonna happen to him? James, did you have anything you wanted to add as to what you didn't like?
No, my biggest complaint, like I said, was the fence. That doesn't make any sense. But.
Okay, so I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna it's probably gonna start to raise attention. I didn't like Saru in this episode. I didn't like that I didn't like him. I didn't like that. I feel like making him captain is great. Like, it was the best move, but he's not able. Like, I just feel like he's not able to do his own thing, to captain his own ship. It's like Michael flagrantly disobeying him should have gotten her kicked off Discovery, but I just feel like Saru is also not strong enough to talk to Michael and to, like, that he's been trying to figure out how to. No, like, don't try to figure out how to deal with her. Just deal with her. My thing is, Saru in season 1 did not like Michael because of what happened to Philippa, and he grew to start liking her, and they grew to have this relationship because of Philippa. But ever since, it's like they've never, if you've been watching, they've never really agreed on a lot. Not necessarily, they just happen to be friendly about things, but they don't agree on a lot of things. They don't see things eye to eye. Now you're captain, and she's agreed to be your number one. It's one thing to not be able to have a hand, because again, Admiral called him out on it. You don't have a handle on your ship, and your number one did what she did. And she brought the mission to you based on one thing, and you could have brought that to me. Who knows? Out of okay the mission, maybe your number one wouldn't have gone on the mission, and things would have turned out different. But I just feel like he's not a strong enough captain for me. He's good. He could be like a good captain eventually, but I just don't feel like he's a strong enough captain for me. And I also feel like he's not strong enough because he snitched. Like, what? Handle your business because again, according to Stephanie, you're still trying to let these people feel, you're still filling you out, right? Starfleet is they don't 100% trust you. They're still trying to get to know you and everything. So show them that you can handle things. Don't come to me because there's a problem. Be like, oh, by the way, my number one deserves nah. I discipline my number one, and we go to what's his name together, and we just say, you know what, we figured out this mission while my number one has been disciplined, or you go with someone else, and we figured out this mission, and this is it. We got this for you guys, and you can figure out the burn, period, and we can move on with everything else. I didn't like that he did that. He showed zero command of his vessel. He showed zero command of his people. He wants to be the nice captain, the nice guy. No, you can't do that. Given who Michael is, given what Michael's history is, you have to be stronger than that. You have to almost be firm with her. Maybe a little more firm than you would be with anyone else. Again, just given who Michael is. And I love Michael Burnham. I don't think Michael Burnham does anything bad. But here I am saying, I just feel like Saru let her off the hook. And yes, he punished her and said, you're no longer number one, but it was a little too late. Something should have been done before the whole episode happened. I'm sorry. I'm just not Team Saru this episode. I don't know if I've been Team Saru this season.
What do you think, James?
Well, I agree with you that Saru should have said something earlier. Like, we all knew that she was going to leave the ship and go do her own thing.
Exactly.
Saru should have known that too, and he should have put a stop to it. Or he should have monitored it and known as soon as she tried to leave.
Yes. Like, her leaving and him being all surprised, to me, was just like, are you serious?
I think he was surprised.
No, like, oh, have you happened? When he went up to Tilly, have you happened? So question, did he go up to Tilly to ask if she's seen Michael, or to ask what he should do?
I think he pulled Tilly aside to confirm what he already suspected, but not in front of the rest of the crew. And to see if Tilly knew any additional information other than what he had assumed.
Yeah, no. Still, nah. I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
What? But I do disagree with you on what he should do after that happens. I think telling your supervisor, my crew is compromised, but I've got it handled, is an appropriate thing to do. Yeah. To say nothing means that if anything bad happens, your supervisor now is going to hold you responsible for not making him aware of your weaknesses.
But your supervisor would still hold you responsible at any point, because again, it shows that you have no handle on your crew. Granted, like you said, my crew is compromised, but I handled it. So you knew. Again, what I think where I'm coming from is the fact that we all know who Michael Burnham is. Like nothing you said is not, her character is not a surprise at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Saru, as you said, should have gleaned that she would still do it regardless. I think he wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think he wanted to see if she would surprise him, but she didn't.
So here's the thing. One, have you ever managed people?
Yes, currently.
Okay. So what happens when one of your employees goes rogue and your boss above you is breathing down your neck?
Oh, they're gone.
Okay. So here's what I think. I would agree that Saru should have known that she was going to do it, and I think to some extent he did. And so he should have, when he was firm with her, I don't think your complaint that he wasn't firm enough is fair, because he outright told her no and did not hold a discussion with her about it. That's firm. Like, you can't really be much firmer other than putting her in the brig. He should have included a statement saying, I'm telling you no, here are my reasons for no, and if you disregard my orders, here's what's going to happen. I think I will agree he probably should have preemptively said that. However, he gave Michael an opportunity to show him where she stood. One final attempt to prove, are you with me as your captain, or are you with yourself? I love you enough and I trust you enough to make your own choices. But as we saw at the end of the episode, how she handled that determined their relationship moving forward, because he talked to her about trust. Like, this only works if there's trust between us, and you established that there is not. And so I think in a lot of ways it was good for him to do it the way that he did, because the decision is Michael's fault. It's not his. He gave her the opportunity to be a Starfleet officer, to fall in line, to be the best number one that she can be. And she chose to not do it. And so he honored her by removing her from leadership, which I love that line when he was like, you made your ambivalence clear. And so now that this isn't going to work moving forward, and I'm going to remove you from that. I think he handled it in a way that keeps their relationship intact afterwards. And
I don't think you have a relationship after that, because you've made me look weak. And again, with everything Admiral said to him, I just feel like, yo, that just made me look horrible in front of my boss.
But don't forget that Saru is used to that. That is Saru's life. He has spent his entire life defined as weak. I doubt that's really going to bother him.
I guess.
I don't think you need to. So when I do leadership, I don't worry too much about whether someone thinks I look weak or in control. I just make sure I handle the situation and I present things as factually as I can. And what tends to happen is people think, all right, he has a handle on the situation because he knows what's going on. He's willing to admit the weaknesses that are happening and tell exactly how he's dealing with it, which is, I think, exactly what Saru ended up doing.
Yeah, I think being transparent in the beginning moments of their relationship with the New Federation is important, because what would have happened if they had, mushroom jumped to a different scenario and then Michael came back and was like, oh, where's my ship? Right? That would have been 10 times worse than going to the Admiral and saying like, hey, my number one went rogue. Here's the situation as it stands. Like, it's a proactive, protective measure so that the Admiral knows, like, yes, my crew is compromised, but I'm aware of it and I'm taking actions for it. Like that, like James said, like that communicates you're in control because you know what's happening.
He's going to find out one way or the other.
Right.
And if he finds out from you, it's better than if he finds out from somebody else or finds out because you are compromised.
Yeah.
I think I may have worded what I was trying to say wrong. So let me try this again. I am okay with Saru telling the Admiral, right? I'm okay with him doing that, but I feel like it'd be, if he had handled the situation, look, I did what I did, but here are the results. Like, this happened on my ship earlier today. I took care of it, but here's what came from it, or look, when the Admiral said you should have come to, I didn't like the way the Admiral talked to Saru, and I just feel like, as someone who's been in a position, because he's young and just is different from every person else, I just feel like you don't want to give anyone a reason to talk to you as if you don't know what you're doing.
But that's a reflection of the Admiral, not of Saru.
And that's how it looked to me. It just looked, but it clearly looked like Saru didn't know what he was doing, if we're being honest, because I don't know. I didn't like it. I really didn't like that he narked. I'm serious. I didn't like it. I didn't.
It's not narking, dude. They're in the military. You have to report every single thing that you do.
Saru's a snitch, yo. You know, it's. Look,
I don't think that's a fair title to throw on him.
I don't know. I didn't like Saru this episode. Hopefully,
he didn't run to the Admiral and was like, "My number one ran away. What should I do? Can you take care of her for me?" No, he went to the Admiral and said, "Look, some stuff went down. I'm handling it. You need to be apprised of the situation," because they're essentially in the middle of war. Like, while they're not necessarily like actually at war, they're in the middle of juggling a lot of high crisis situations. And if the Admiral doesn't know how all of his players are operating, then he's going to make bad calls.
I think what you're getting at, Mo, is that there's a place for taking all the responsibility on yourself and presenting the whole function of the crew as a function of you, and like that's what you see in like Captain Picard. He doesn't. When somebody went rogue on him, he didn't report them to the Admiral ship. He took responsibility. Said, "This is what happened."
That's also toxic, right? Can we just there's room for toxicity there?
I don't know if that's necessarily toxic. I think it's a sign of maybe I've been taught, or maybe I've seen toxic leadership, because that is really how I work. Is if I'm currently, like right now, right, I will take on work that I'm not supposed to take, because there's a timing we have to get things ready for and do things. So I'll do work. If I feel like someone is slacking, I'll pick up the pieces. I did, however, have to at one point like turn up on someone because, hey, like, you're taking advantage of it. So I did handle what I needed to handle. And I think at one point I had to talk to my boss about it. My boss was like, well, they work for you, don't they? And when he said that, it made me realize that, hey, like, you know, it's whatever happens with them, they don't necessarily talk to them. It's always going to be me. And I just feel like Saru, I'm not saying he should have put himself in front of the bullet, but he should have presented a united or stronger front. Like, hey, look, this is my ship and I handle everything. I know I'm new to this, but I'm true to this. You understand? It's like,
I feel like he did that.
I don't know. I didn't get what
were you saying? Sorry, I interrupted you.
I think there's a place for both strategies. I think there's a time and place to take. I mean, ultimately what happens under your command is your responsibility.
Yes.
And there's a time and place to say, you know, this happened. I fully support my crew, even though it didn't go well. And there's a time and place to say, you know what, this happened, and I'm totally against it, and I'm working to fix it. And I feel like that's what Saru did, is the second one. Yeah, and we see more in Picard, someone who almost always defaults to the first one.
Right.
And that's part of why he was a captain that was well beloved. But that doesn't mean that he did everything right.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he did everything wrong, right? Like I think there's both have their place. And in this case, I think Saru did the right thing.
I think who he did it with is also really important. So, like, for example, if if Tilly had been the one to step out of line and Saru had taken that to the Admiral, I would feel a way different way about it. But because it's the rebellious, self-focused, narcissistic Michael, like, there has to be a time of like, look,
just say you don't like Michael and keep it moving.
I want to like Michael. She is
I'm
not.
kidding.
So I think what we're establishing with this episode, I think the writing's been on the wall for a really long time, but I think what we're establishing this episode is something that Patrick has alluded to, is that I don't think that she is meant for Starfleet. And I think in a lot of ways she never was, but there wasn't an alternative. And so she just stuck with it. And now that she's experienced this life that is something else, that is more, that does fit her character better, I think she isn't going to be able to reabsorb into the Federation. I don't think there's a place for her in Starfleet anymore, and I think she's realizing it.
All right, two questions. One, if the mission didn't go successfully, who would the Admiral have, put the blame on?
I would hope both.
James?
I think I would agree with both. Like you put some.
You would hope both, or who realistically would he have done it on?
Saru probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If it were me, I'd put it on both. This is your crew. You need to keep it in line, Saru, but also like this is an inappropriate rebellious activity, and a penalty needs to be put in place. And that's exactly what the Admiral did. He did put it on both. In that conversation.
Especially because Michael is known to him, right? Like this isn't some anonymous crew among the ranks that the Admiral hasn't met. Like she has been rude to him. She has negotiated with him. Like he knows her, and it's brand new, but there is a relationship there. And I think really what needs to happen and what did happen, not enough, but what did happen is that Michael was held responsible, right? Because thus far she's had captain after captain just absorb her blame and like roll with it. And that needed to stop.
Isn't this the second time she's had her rank reduced though?
Yes.
Okay, just make sure my memory's right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Georgiou, the original Philippa, stripped her of rank for not obeying in the beginning. Unlike
put her in the brig, right? Yeah. And she did go in the brig. What was the other question? Okay, so do you think? Okay, so this is something I was thinking about, right? That so. Between Discovery and some episodes of TNG and then Picard, do you think and now future Discovery, do you think this new Trek or new Trek moving forward is trying to show you how dysfunctional the Federation itself is, and how like maybe like this future is to start something new or change something or tweak something within this Federation to allow them to expand certain beliefs or just to bring them, because I feel like, okay, hear me out. I feel like the Federation would be like, if we're looking at our bill, right? What are the amendments, right? How a lot of them are outdated, and we need to like bring them into like where we are now. Right? Do you think that's what's happening with future Trek?
You think? Are you asking? Or do we think that Discovery is setting the platform to redefine what the Federation and Starfleet is?
Yes.
I think that's happening, whether or not that was their intention.
Oh, okay. And because Picard, I think, also is leading into that, because everything that happened in season 1 of Picard just shows how like out of touch. Because Starfleet does exist in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show. Yeah. Well, it's such Picard is so interesting because it is, in theory, it's the world that we're familiar with, but it's from the perspective that we have never really gotten before, right? All of Star Trek prior to Picard is through the lens of Starfleet.
Yes.
Every single one. And so Picard gave us this really cool behind the scenes of like, what is the galaxy really like? Like when we're not looking through the polished rose tinted glasses of the Federation, like what really happens in the world? And maybe the role Discovery is going to play is what happens, what does it look like behind the scenes of the Federation? Like, what is it survivable? Is it tenable? Does it have to change in order to continue to exist?
So the question that I feel like kind of needs to be asked right now is, what do you think happens this season with the Federation, maybe with Michael Burnham? Because Patrick did allude to the fact that Michael Burnham may end up leaving Discovery because she can't seem to, that 1 year outside of not having to, as you said, follow the rules, do X, Y, and Z because Federation rules. And now, well, the Federation kind of exists, but kind of doesn't. And so, as you've alluded to, she's argued with the Admiral, who's the highest ranking officer in the Federation, and all these other things. So now, do you think, one, she leaves Discovery because of all of this, or do you think, no, I already asked the question about the Federation. Do you think she leaves Discovery?
Before we answer that, I want to ask a clarifying question. What we're interacting with, is that the Federation or is it Starfleet?
Hmm.
I don't actually know.
I don't think they've been super explicit about it. I think it's just
I'm super fuzzy on it because there is a distinction, right? Like not all Federation planets participate in Starfleet, but all Federation planets gain the benefit of protection from Starfleet. So
I think because again, with the way the Admiral is operating things, it seems more Starfleet than say the Federation, and we haven't necessarily seen other races or species inside of, it's strictly right now the only two people that we know from this new iteration is the Admiral and his second in command, right?
I mean, we see aliens in the background, but they haven't played a part.
But they haven't played. And I think when they did the whole roundtable thing where all, trying to divvy okay, hey, you take on this, you do this. It was all, I don't know, I'm fuzzy on it, but it could have been all humans. Maybe there was one alien.
Might have been one alien.
No, there was a woman bug captain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's still majority human to me, or humanoid.
So annoying. Wait, what's particularly annoying, just putting Star Trek aside, is that I feel like in the early shows, the reason you got predominantly human was because special effects and prosthetics were expensive. Right. And that makes sense. You need the aliens to be special and unique because they took a lot of time and a lot of money. But with where special effects are today, there's no reason to stick to humans. You can afford an alien.
Or humanoid, because I think even you could be alien, but you're human.
With
spots.
This week, refer to Star Trek as Forehead of the Week.
Forehead of the Week is a brilliant. And I don't know. I think it's a shame that Star Trek in particular, but space shows in general, didn't really take a cue from Babylon 5 or even a little bit from Farscape, where you have species that are not humanoid. They might have two eyes, but that's where the similarity stops. Or I don't know. It's really disappointing to me. But what your question was?
No. That's a fair observation, because again, it's something to be said. Again, I mean, when we did have, Klingons are the most famous aliens out of Star Trek, and the reason why people were upset about the redesign of Klingons was because that's not the Klingons they were used to. They were used to the person with just ridges on their forehead, and that's it. But they're alien in nature, and there's so much more history to them, and so it's a cool redesign, I think. I didn't have a beef with that, and apparently there is, going down in the timeline, they do start to appear more humanoid, I guess.
There's a thing.
On your favorite show, come on.
No, I hated that, because I'm I felt like it was lazy. It's oh well, by the way, there's a thing, and now they look more come on now, And then I think when Discovery happened, and I looked at it, and I'm oh, that's kind of cheap. They were being cheap. It just felt like they were being cheap, and it's oh, we'll just do this because we don't have enough money, and just say this is why we're doing this.
There's an episode, I think it's in DS9, where everyone looks at Worf and they're why don't you look the same as those other Klingons?
Yeah, because they go back.
We don't talk about it.
They go back to the ship. They visit the episode where the Klingon visits Kirk. Right?
The Tribbles. Tribbles, yeah.
The Tribbles, yeah. And so they're Worf, what is happening? And Worf's we don't talk about that.
We didn't have money then, so we just couldn't.
I think more realistically, we didn't know that this show was going to explode the way that it did, and we didn't know we were going to explore Klingons as a whole separate species.
Right.
We're going to settle for this racist stereotype for now, and then have to redeem it later.
We don't talk about it. No, but seriously, does Michael Burnham stay, or does she leave?
What do you think?
I think the show might be improved with her leaving, but
I'm not watching if she leaves.
Don't lie.
I'm serious. I can't come back, because I'm only here because of Michael Burnham. Being very honest with you, I mean, I will come back to do of course I'm gonna watch it. Stop. But it'll be so hard for me to take the first couple episodes. I'd have to adjust. Because
I think it would be a big adjustment. You're absolutely she is the main character, right? But that's not Trek. Trek doesn't have a main character. Except I'll give Picard an exception. Obviously, that's Picard, right? But all the Trek has an ensemble.
But even Picard, there are tons of episodes that have nothing to do with him. All you hear from him is engage, and like the rest of the show is the ensemble underneath him.
So cool. He is really cool.
I don't know that she's gonna leave, but I would not be surprised if she leaves. Like the Discovery is her home base, it's her hub, it's where she touches ground to, but she's still gonna go try to solve the mysteries of the universe, and she'll flit in and out as she gains leads and tries to investigate things.
To be clear, my position on her, like I think in real life she and I would be great friends. However, I don't think she's good Starfleet material. She disobeys orders left and right, and therefore it makes it
so interesting.
No,
I'm going to say
boring.
It makes it boring because it's the same all the time.
I don't know.
Here's how it would be interesting.
No character development.
She doesn't even take the time to figure out how can I obey his orders while disobeying them. Right? Like how can I obey the letter of the order while totally disregarding the heart of the order? Like she's not even that clever. She's interesting. But she is narcissistic. She always thinks
that's fair. Yeah.
She always thinks that her call is the right call. It does not matter what other people say or think. She's the one with the most information. She's the one with the best information, and she's the only one who can accomplish what she thinks needs to get accomplished.
I think they're writing her like a Starfleet like one of our Starfleet captains. I think they're writing her like that, and it kind of sucks because you'd want more dynamic, like character.
Yeah. But even a good Starfleet captain would you see this with Sisko a lot. Like he wants to make a decision, but he goes and he consults with his crew before. There are a couple times where Sisko puts his foot down and makes a unilateral decision, but usually he gathers the opinion of his people and he alters his decisions based on their experience and what they think should be done. And Mike has literally no interest in that.
Isn't she like a mix between like a Janeway and like a Sisko and maybe a little bit of Kirk? And it's just like, oh, we're just gonna take the cool parts of these people and not like the dynamic parts of them, and just
I don't know.
All of those people, maybe not Kirk, but Janeway and Sisko definitely had briefing rooms where they would get everyone's opinion. Yeah. Like she doesn't do that.
She doesn't care.
She goes to somebody and said, "This is what we're gonna do," and then they say no, and then she does it anyway. Like
she does it harder.
I mean, she didn't there was no break in between from when she talked to Saru and she just immediately I think her going to Georgiou is just she made up her mind and just needed someone to say, sure, let's do it. Yeah. Because if you went to Tilly would be like, okay, have you gone back and tried to reason with Saru if she went to But who else would she talk to like that? That's the only person she does talk to.
But here's the thing. I think she went to Georgiou because she knew Georgiou wouldn't get in trouble, right? Georgiou is not a Federation officer. Saru can't do anything to her, really. Where she knows that if she had gone to Stamets or to Tilly or to anyone else that's an actual crew member, she knew that I think she's aware that their careers would be on the line, and she doesn't want to compromise their careers. But
so she's not a bad person.
Hers. Right. So right. This is in support of I don't think she's going to be in Starfleet for much longer. She understands that the things that she does is not in line, which we know because she told Saru he was making the right choice. It's not going to be long before she's not in Starfleet anymore. And she knows it. She just doesn't know how to gracefully say,
this ain't for me.
The year that I experienced without you was transformative, and I'm not the person that I'm not the person who led you through the wormhole anymore. And we need to redefine the way that we relate to each other.
In real life, I think absolutely she would not be in Starfleet much longer. This is a show that's pretty much centered around her, so they're going to find a way to drag it out, I think. But
maybe she'll just go on leave. You know what I mean?
And then probably
you're off duty.
I think she'll, if anything, I think she'll miss out on the first maybe 3-4 episodes next season, and then somehow they're going to run into trouble, and Ant's least favorite thing in the world, Michael comes back to save them.
Probably.
And boom,
can we talk about what we liked about this episode?
Is there a lot? I like the redesign of the I like that she took Tilly took the shunts. No, it wasn't Tilly. Adira took the shunts off Stamets' forearm.
Oh yeah. That was
I
super
like
cool.
that because it just looked like that is a lot of pain.
Yeah, and especially like his skin was all red in the space where it was gone.
Yeah, I like that. For what we didn't like about their conversation, I did like how everything else went. I like that, she's opening up to him, or he's giving her space to like open up. I
loved when Stamets was talking to
Adira.
No, to Hubs at the end of the episode, and he's like, "Why do you think you reached out to her today?" And like that's a really touching moment for Stamets to say, like, "I never thought that I'd find somebody who understood what I went through when I found you." Like that she, just like being able to relate to her of like we both lost somebody who isn't gone. Like that's super sweet. I did not like anything else about their interaction, but that was like a really nice insight to what Stamets is
going through or has gone through. Quick question: did you like that Philippa almost died, or
super like what they did with her? I think it's super interesting that Detmer and Georgiou are experiencing like weirdness, and I think it's I don't know what direction we don't know what is causing this in Georgiou, but I think it's super interesting to explore like what does an alternate universe person experience when they jump time in not their universe.
Whew. Now that is a mouthful. It is she was having weird visions and she saw someone, and I think it started when Michael had mentioned the name Tyler. There was one time she had said Tyler and she just went into like this weird. So was Tyler in their universe something like related to her? Are we gonna find out? Stay tuned on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
I also really liked there were a couple like little Easter eggs that I enjoyed. One of them was the self-sealing stem bolts when they were on the warehouse planet. Like that was great. And for those who maybe don't remember the episode, there's a whole episode in DS9 about Jake and Nog trying to trade a bunch of items, like just trying to get the best deal. And one of the things they get stuck on is a shipment of self-sealing stem bolts. And like half of the episode is them trying to unload them. And it's hilarious. So I really enjoyed that like little like kickback. And I really like hearing, even though I don't appreciate what they did with the Bajoran we saw on screen, I loved hearing the Bajoran exchange. Like something really critical, something like a big event is happening in the galaxy, and the name of it includes Bajor, and I think that's super cool.
James?
What did I really like? I still think the comm badges are the coolest. I like the idea that the new technology adapts to your individual behaviors, so that it's customized to exact. Like that's how it should be, really. Like we can't do that in our current world because it would take forever to do that. And the truth is, it should still take them forever. It should take a while for that technology to adapt to their individual behaviors. It should take them a while to get adjusted to it. But I like.
Although Saru nailed it day one.
I think it was I think it was lucky. I think it was a fluke.
I don't care.
I think it was a fluke. I think it was a fluke. You know what? I'm mad, so I'm just gonna.
So after he reprimands Michael and he demotes her, he walks away and turns and teleports like at the most dramatic moment. Like he's walking off into the sunset, and then
this season is dramatic, and I think it just adds to the dramatic. Because again, her turning to Saru, and then there was a silent moment, and it's like, you did the right thing. Dramatic. Okay, fine. Like, listen, this season is like super dramatic.
Super dramatic.
No, but it was cool though. Like, I'm not gonna, as much as I don't care for Saru, I will give him that. He did have that moment, so I'll give him that. But I just knew when Philippa fell over, I was like, oh, Stephanie's gonna love this. I just, in my head, that moment, I was like, Steph is gonna love this, and boom. She's like, and you're in the chat, you're like,
yeah, she's down for the count. I wanted her to stay down. Not necessarily because I want to see her die. I just want to see her deal with stuff she's not used to. Like, that's great.
Right. And her being her, it's gonna take a while because they're gonna drag it a little bit because she's stubborn and she's like, yeah. So they're gonna drag it for like maybe a couple more episodes than they need to. Are they ever gonna go back to Detmer, or is I still think that's not fair. I really think that's not fair. But again, it's looking at new technology on the ship and them just being able to like everything was kind of cool.
I loved what she did get on this episode though, that one liner of do we really need all of this?
Yeah.
Yes, Kayla, preach.
Great character development.
Yeah.
Just in one line, great character development.
I was here for it. Like I don't want to spend time learning all of this.
Seriously, but she is right. I mean, everything worked. Even here, everything still worked. If you're gonna say we left it because apparently it's like, oh, why? But why does everything look the same? Oh, well, we left it that way so you can, it's normal for you. But then you all the extra bells and whistles, like I have to touch this to listen, just calm down a little bit.
We left it that way so we don't have to build a new set.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Even though I feel like if we get on one of the other ships, it's totally different. Like there's probably nothing. Everything raises up.
What we've seen on Bookship is like there's two consoles.
It's just a sandbar.
There's not even a chair. If you want to sit down, you sit down, and it comes up to you.
It comes up to
If you want to sleep, the bed forms when he goes to bed.
Very Wakandian. Like
yes.
Yeah. I also I know you didn't, Mo, but I liked that they're continuing this sub thread of Tilly and Saru growing closer. I know you didn't like it, but I loved that she was who he went to. I mean, I think he went to her because they share a room, and she maybe would have more information. But I love that she spoke into his captaincy, and he took the I don't know. I just really like their dynamic, and I would love for Tilly to be number one.
I'm rooting for Tilly to be the new number one. Yeah.
Yeah, which would be so unusual, right? Having an engineer as your number one is unprecedented.
I don't think it happens.
It doesn't, and so I'm super into the idea of Tilly breaking the mold.
We'll see. But no, seriously. I'm excited. I am excited to see where the rest of it goes. Now that Michael doesn't have the responsibility of being number one.
Did she ever really carry that responsibility though?
Yeah, but let's just pretend. Let's pretend that she did. Right now that she doesn't have it, there's gonna be a lot more Michael away missions, and it's gonna be very weird to see but I do like what is going to happen is it's going to be weird to see the dynamic of her, because now so what do you tell the crew? Oh, Michael's no longer number one, and how is that going to change anything? I don't think it does. I don't think it changes anything, but I just want to see what Michael and Saru are going to go through. That's the relationship that I feel like is going to be more affected. Also,
they've all watched her been demoted before.
Yeah, so they don't really care. Last
time she got demoted, she was literally demoted in front of them.
Yes. Now, I already asked this question. Do we ever at any point go back to Detmer? Probably not. She's not a big enough character for us to go back to, but we will go back to Philippa at some point. When, we don't know. Hopefully, maybe we can start in the next episode. Are we going to get more Adira, and how much more Adira do we get? Also, are they gonna address her boyfriend thing? Because if they don't, I know if they do, it's gonna keep killing you. And I don't it makes me sad that you come on here and you're just kind of shitting on it, but I think it's interesting.
No.
I think it's interesting.
It's only interesting if they explain it.
Right. It is only interesting if they explore it further.
I hope they do.
But it's also the reason. So if this was Trill, right? If this was the first time we were exploring a Trill,
it would
be I'd be like, okay, this is weird, but whatever, right? Alien's gonna be alien. But the fact that we have an established Trill relationship between Trill and Symbiont, it's frustrating that they're just we've established that when this happens, something is wrong and something is not right. But when it's happening now, like where obviously there's no one on the ship who knows that it's not right, but like they're playing it out like it's a feature and it's not.
Maybe it's not right. And as you pointed out, there's no one right now that understands the relationship. So eventually it'll blow up.
I would have hoped that, like, if nothing, I know we didn't get a lot of, like, we don't really know what happened between Trill, like, leadership and Discovery. Like, we just got Michael and Adira on the planet. But I would hope that they would have sent Colbert, like, some information. Right? Like, here's the how to care for a Trill for dummies.
101. I think I'm with you on the fact that we will explore it more. But I think I don't think it's right. I think it's kind of cute what we're looking at, but I don't think it's right. I think it's going to come to a point where she can't, it's something is going to happen. I feel like it's
bite her in the butt somehow.
Yeah, and then go ahead. I'm sorry.
If they did send Colbert information like you're saying they should have, next episode is the first time we could actually address that, because this is the first time he's found out that she's.
Well, I don't know that Stamets told her that. I told him that.
Yeah, so yeah, if there is something, if they are not trying to establish that this is a new thing that's normal, and in fact it is something that's wrong, Colbert needs to find out that it's happening before he can even look at the archives. And even finding out that it's happening doesn't mean that he's going to realize that there's something wrong. He's going to have to look at it.
That's fair. But also we're kind of like, we've established that she's willing to talk to him in front of anybody, right? So it's not going to be long before people are like, is Adira okay? Like, who is Adira talking to?
I thought he told Colbert, because he did say, didn't he say, Adira's dealing with the law? Oh, he just said she's dealing with the loss of.
Right. I don't know that he specified. Like, she thinks
okay.
She can see him and they're having full conversations. I don't know.
Well, that would be interesting if Colbert does eventually find out, because I do 100% think something is wrong, because according to Trill, that's not supposed to happen. Right. If it does, something is wrong. I 100% feel like something is wrong, and they will deal with it at some point.
Yeah, hopefully.
But not now, because we still got to get through a lot more Michael nonsense.
You called it nonsense, not us.
It's fine. It's for the people that I don't think anything Michael does is wrong. I think what she did in episode 1 of season 1 was the right call. I think what she's done ever since.
You're disqualifying yourself from having an opinion. Were there other things that you liked?
I think we talked about most of it.
I feel like Stephanie just cut me off. She's like, you know what? We're not listening to you anymore. Anyways. Thank you, Stephanie, for making the time today or tonight to talk Star Trek Discovery. Thank you, James. We'll be back next week to talk more Discovery. Look, this is episode 6. We have 7 more to go. It's 13. We have 7 more to go. So, hey, we'll be back for the next 7 weeks telling you how we feel about everything that is going on. And hopefully we'll be back in the next 7 weeks to say Michael isn't leaving or Michael is leaving. So I think we should start a poll and see how that goes.
Okay, all right.
But no, I really, really do appreciate you guys coming on and the time that we have, because this is actually fun. So thank you for coming, and we will catch you on the next one.